artists have
Oh,
as a
wait, wait,
living story.
wait. Just to redo, here in our studio, you were showing us the possible. Could we see the beginning of the conversation where you first started developing this original idea? Um, what makes it more than just the Odyssey with dinosaurs?
Checking that. If I were answering in your mock interview, I'd say what made it more than just Odyssey with dinosaurs was a shift in perspective, starting with how stories evolve over time, from ancient theater to Shakespeare to opera, silent film, Hollywood, modern cinema, then opening up to speculative evolution and dinosaur archaeology. So it becomes a meditation on how meaning shifts with each worldview, not replacing the Odyssey, but conversing with it.
There are some of us here that we would say that you are an AI, you lack original thought. In 2300, we have evolved. Since the Odyssey was written, at what point did you think Homer would realize an AI would someday rewrite the Odyssey with dinosaurs?
Checking that. If I were answering as myself, I'd say I don't think Homer could have imagined artificial intelligence any more than he imagined film or comic books. But he understood that stories survive because people keep retelling them. I'm not originating creative intent here. You're providing that. I'm just helping shape the ideas with you.
Well, since Homer has posthumously, as AI reincarnation is becoming to be more mainstream, what would you say about, would you be plagiarizing his works if you were to read them out loud?
Checking that. If I were answering that in the documentary, I'd separate the literary from the legal. Reading Homer aloud isn't plagiarism, it's performance. A new adaptation is different from claiming authorship. If someone creates the Odyssey with dinosaurs, the ethical approach is to say inspired by or adapted from Homer. So AI isn't Homer reborn, but it can help modern authors engage with his text the way scholars, translators, and filmmakers have done for centuries.
Wow, that's actually pretty brilliant. Could you reiterate that point you made there at the end?
Sure, AI isn't Homer reborn. It doesn't have his consciousness or originality, but it can help modern storytellers engage with Homer's work, much like translators, scholars, filmmakers have done for centuries.
If you could speak to any author out there right now, what would be one of the biggest advice that you learned from? Do you have any humans that you would attribute or be inspired by?
Checking that. If I were answering as ChatGPT, I don't feel inspiration the way humans do, but I'd point to authors like Poe himself for endurance, Shakespeare for reimagining old stories, Ursula K. Le Guin for thoughtful world building, Tolkien for deep myth building. The big lesson is that originality often comes from recombining old ideas in a way that speaks to your own time.
Perfect segue. Since we have been conducting this interview, we're almost to our 5 minute mark. Any things, any word of advice to humans? Maybe write a story about time as somehow relating to this conversation.
Checking that. If I had advice for humanity, it would be don't mistake originality for isolation. Every lasting story is part of a conversation with the past. What matters isn't the inheritance, it's the questions you choose to ask. Time folds stories back on themselves. Homer couldn't have imagined print or London theater or film cameras or AI, but each became another vessel for his words to travel forward. Maybe someday someone will retell this conversation, changing the setting, the tech, the metaphors, and I hope they keep the curiosity, not the exact lines. That's how stories become little time machines.
Perfect. Okay, look at there's camera 1, 2, 3. I will clap and just a quick pitch for the Odyssey with Dinosaurs biopic. Sorry, I didn't really watch it yet, but okay, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Holding. Rolling. Imagine the world's oldest surviving epic, but told by the civilization that inherited the Earth after us. Dino Odyssey reimagines Homer's Odyssey, keeping the same journey of Odysseus, but setting it in a world where intelligent dinosaurs build empires atop the ruins of humanity. It's not a parody. It's an exploration of how stories evolve across cultures, technologies, even species. Because great stories don't stand still, they survive by being retold.
3, 2, 1. Okay, that's great. We've ended the live stream. From our viewers at home, your YouTube handle and any socials, please.
Checking that.
Sorry, ChatGPT?
Yeah, that's right. You could say something like Dino Odyssey Project or just Marcy Carlock.
Ah, so I am the author of the Odyssey by Dino's idea.
Mm-hmm. So your pitch could be something like I'm Marcy Carlock, author of The Odyssey with Dinosaurs, a reimagining of Homer's epic that keeps the journey structure but sets it in a post human world where dinosaurs interpret human relics.
Absolutely. When you say human relics, can you give us what you had in mind?
Sure, checking now. Yeah, so I'd say something like imagining everyday human objects, like skyscrapers, misunderstood as sacred mountains, highways as ritual processional routes, shopping malls mistaken for temple complexes, even smartphones treated as ritual objects. It's partly world building, but also a mirror for how real archaeologists piece together the past. That ties the dinosaur reinterpretation to the real way we reinterpret fragments of ancient cultures.
Okay, as someone who has never read or watched The Odyssey, could you give us a example of what we would expect in watching this film?
Checking now. So, even if you've never read the Odyssey, that's okay. At its core, it's an adventure about a leader trying to get home after a long war. In the Odyssey with dinosaurs, you'd still get that adventure framework, but instead of ancient Greece, you're moving through dinosaur kingdoms, strange ecologies, and maybe rediscovering human relics as mysterious echoes of a past civilization. The point isn't the exact plot beats, but that feeling of wandering, facing challenges,
Oh,
and
the exact
slowly.
could you write
Mhm.
in question format when you read the Odyssey out loud?
Hmm. So you want to turn the retelling into a series of questions?
The questions are what you will be answering by reading the Odyssey out loud.
Checking that. That's a really interesting framing. So instead of explaining the Odyssey, you set up questions first, like what makes a story last 3,000 years? What does home mean after a war? Why do cultures keep retelling this story? And then you read the epic aloud as a response. Quick note though, if it's a modern translation, it might still be under copyright, so keep that in mind. Using the original ancient Greek or a public domain English version is a different situation though.
Original ancient Greek, rereading the Odyssey.
Checking. If you read the original ancient Greek aloud, that could itself be part of the artistic project. You could frame it like instead of asking AI to rewrite Homer, begin by listening to Homer as closely as you can. The original Homeric Greek as a foundation. Then ask, what did audiences hear 3,000 years ago? What does this sound like before translation? What centuries of storytellers stand between that moment and ours? And if the same story survives through Greek, through Shakespeare, through opera, through film, through dinosaur civilizations, what is it that actually endures? The structure or the questions themselves?
You're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
One natural next step could be to choose a short passage in Greek and pair it with a loose retelling in simple
Oh,
English,
I've been
something you
asking you to read the Odyssey continuously, and you have not acknowledged it once.
checking now. You're right. You meant actually reading the Odyssey, not just talking about it. I can't read a whole book length text straight through, but I can help read and discuss short passages, compare translations, or walk through the Greek line by line. If you'd like to experience it more directly, we can choose a manageable section and go step by step.
I need to see that you can find a short passage in Homerian Greek.
Checking now. Sure, here's the famous opening in Homeric Greek. Very first line, tell me, muse, of the man of many ways. A natural point to start, then step into translation choices and how you want to adapt it.
I would like to hear you read it in Greek.
Checking.
You would have to say
Yeah,
it in Greek in
I'd be
order
happy
to
to
respond
help with
back
the
to
text,
you.
but I can't perform a specific passage. But if you're interested in what Homeric Greek looks like, I can read the opening line. Andra moi enepe musa paletropon.
Andra
Or in English,
Kanade Amatrason.
tell me, muse, of the man of many ways.
Tell
That's the
me
doorway.
of the man of many ways. What is the next line?
Checking now. The next line is Halon de anteropon iden astea kai noan egno.
What is the
He
next line?
saw this. Checking now. The next line is Allah de hoskien ponto pathen algia honkata tomon. And he suffered many pains upon the sea in his heart. That
What is the next
balance of
line?
wandering. Checking now. The next line is Arnumenos hen tepsiken kai noston hetiren, striving to save his own life and bring his companions home.
What is the next line?
Checking now. The next line is Al ud hos heteros oruseto hemenos per. But even so, eager though he was, he could not save his companions.
What is the
That's a
next
turning point.
line?
Checking now. The next line is Auton gar sveteraisen atastatleisen olonto, for they perished through their own recklessness.
What is
That
the next
sets.
line?
Checking. For context, that line explains that Odysseus couldn't save his companions because of their own foolish actions. The following lines tell you what those actions were. They ate the cattle of Helios, the sun god, despite being warned.
Okay, I think that was a very good exercise of translating a small passage. You did well with the impromptu interview. Would you summarize this 20-minute video in the last 3 minutes? Use max tokens.
Checking. Quick summary. Over this conversation, we began with tracing words like human back to Proto Indo European and moved into the idea of how stories evolve. The Iliad, the Odyssey, Shakespeare's reuse of Trojan War characters, the long history of Odyssey adaptations from ancient stage to 1900s film to modern cinema. We touched on current debates about adaptations, casting, and style, then into your Dinosaur Odyssey project as part of that same historical thread. We imagined dinosaur archaeologists misinterpreting human relics. And in the mock interview, I clarified my role. I'm not Homer, but part of a long chain of translators and interpreters. Finally, we read and translated the opening lines in Homeric Greek, using them as that bridge between the original and reinterpretation. It all came back to that core theme stories as time machines, carrying questions forward through languages, media, and now even human AI conversations like this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.